All right, gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I introduce our speaker, Kyle S. from Santa Barbara with 8 years.
Okay, Kyle Alcoholic. First of all, well, thank you guys so much for the hospitality. Eric's out. You guys are super cool, man. I love when I come and I meet people, and they're just like normal, cool bros. And you guys definitely fit that bill. And I apologize for wearing the hood. If the hood thing offends you guys, like I was scrutinizing it over there. I was sitting there and I was like, should I put on the hood? Should I put on the hood? If I don't have on the hood, all you guys are going to hear is so forgive me. I thought about it. It is what it is, right? I'm trying to get through this without freezing my dick off out here. So, I always get super nervous for these things, especially something like this, right? Like doing a regular speaker meeting is kind of like, all right, whatever. They don't like me. There's some other guy next week. Like, hey, like, big deal. But this is a huge deal and a huge honor. This is like a once a year kind of thing. So I'm like, I really want to show up for you guys, dude. So it makes me super nervous, man. And I used to really scrutinize over, why do I get so nervous? Where does that come from? And, my conclusion of that is just, I think I get nervous for this stuff because I'm just a normal human being with normal reactions to this stuff, dude. I think they did a study of fears amongst all people, and death was the number 2 fear, followed only by public speaking / public humiliation. So, if you're one of the newer cats here that's, and you're sitting there and you're thinking like, dude, there's not a chance in hell I'm ever going to get up there and do that. Like, don't trip. I still feel like this shit, but whenever I open my pitch, that's why I also like to open up with a quote that's really represented my entire recovery. And it's not Bill Wilson, it's not Dr. Bob, it's actually a Conor McGregor quote. And what he says is, the more you seek the uncomfortable, the more comfortable you become. And we're not, everything is uncomfortable. Just going to a meeting is uncomfortable. But when I was new, a principle that I was taught early on was never say no to a recovery request. And I kind of took that as a challenge. Even as fried as I was, I could understand that. I was like, all right, I'm not saying no to shit. Whatever they tell me to do, I'm going to do it. But like I said, just going to a meeting was super uncomfortable. Like, God forbid an old person tries to make small talk with me and I haven't had a conversation sober in the past 15 years. And I still kind of get like that, some person's just like, hey, how are you? And you're like, good. And you're like, how are you? And they're like, good. And you're like, I got nothing. Scurry off into the shadows. And then I get asked to read chapter 5, and all of a sudden I'm up here all Billy Madison, all I can't read in front of everybody. And because I felt like everybody was sitting there judging, like, how good can this guy read? Like, like it's some type of competition. Like, nobody gives a shit. Everybody's spacing out. And then and then I get asked to share. I get called on to share, and I don't know about you guys, but when I was new, I'd be throwing up those Hail Mary prayers. I'd just be like, don't call on me, don't call on me, don't call on me. Because when I was new, I felt like everybody in AA was some type of spiritual guru, was some wizard that knew all this stuff, and they were judging me. And I was going to say the wrong thing, and they go, oh, we got a dumb one, get him out of here. He's got to go. And, but I would share, and then I remember leading my first meeting, and I was terrified. It was at the sober living I lived at, and I just adrenaline dumped, shared a bunch of random stuff about, like, C.T. Fletcher and David Goggins and just weird shit that had nothing to do with AA, but I got in there and did it, and then I get asked to, make some amends, and those are terrifying. And then I get asked to speak, and that's super scary. And it's very uncomfortable the whole way along. But with every uncomfortable thing that I've done, I found a little bit more confidence, a little bit more peace around here. And it's still the same. So I appreciate the opportunity to get uncomfortable once again, guys. And so whenever I get the opportunity to share, I really don't go all the way back into my childhood. If I had 2 hours to sit here and tell you every little thing, I would, but I don't. And the reason I don't really go into my childhood is because I think it's kind of irrelevant. I don't really think that I'm alcoholic because my mom was this or my dad was that. It's a disease. It's just kind of luck of the draw. Like, one of the guys that I sponsor, he's an identical twin. He's got literally a double of him. They look the same. They're the same height and everything. and his brother's completely normal, but he's walking around here and he has to come to AA because he's alcoholic. And you know, I think it's just kind of luck of the draw. Some people got to wear glasses. Some people got diabetes. I got asthma. I got to walk around with an asthma inhaler every day or I'll die. And what my brand of alcoholism looks like is I just hate how I feel when I'm sober. I'm just a very uncomfortable person. Yeah, I'm prone to depression. I'm prone to anxiety. I've got a weird feeling of disconnectedness from other human beings. In the beginning of Bill's story, he talks about he's out at foreign wars and he feels lonely, so he turns to alcohol. But if you think about that, he's out at foreign wars. He's never alone. He's sleeping in a bunker with like 100 other guys. He's running around with guys doing stuff all the time, but he feels lonely. And I can relate to that. You know, I can be at my own family's Thanksgiving dinner and, you know, this uncle just retired and he's about to go on some cruise somewhere. And this cousin just graduated some shit. And then there's just me. I just want to sneak down the street and go smoke a bowl and get away from everybody. And especially I come to AA and I'm new. I come to a big retreat like this and I'm like, it feels like a big old club and everybody's best friends and everybody knows each other and everybody's totally in it. And then there's just me. I'm the only one not invited. You guys are all a big club. You're all friends and I'm the only person not involved here. So for me, anything that I do or anything that I put in my body that makes me feel good, that makes me feel like I'm getting even with the rest of the world, I'm just going to do it at an uncontrollable level. So, you know, so I love to drink alcohol alcoholically, you know, but I'm the type of alcoholic, it's anything, man. Meth, heroin, video games, gas station boner pills, the gym, even music. If I find a new song I like, I'm playing it on repeat over and over and over again until it does nothing for me. And I even know, I'm like, oh, maybe I should throw this on a playlist, stretch it out, make it nope. By the end of the day, like, you know, I work construction, so the guys that are around the job site, they're like, this shit again, dude? What the fuck, man? And I'm still that way to this day. It's not like I worked the steps and biologically my brain reorganized itself. I still have the same brain that I was born with. I've just found a new well to drink from, and that's AA and the 12 steps. I work this program alcoholically. I go to a shitload of meetings. I get to work with a ton of super cool dudes. I do a lot of service. And I don't do any of it with the motivation to stay sober. I never wake up and I'm like, oh, I better get to a meeting or I'm going to drink today. No, I do it because it gives me the same relief that the drugs and the alcohol did. That's what I'm after. I'm after feeling good. I'm after, you know, being sober was never really the goal here. I wanted to have a good life and I wanted to be happy. And for me, in my experience, I've noticed that there's really two big differences between when I'm using AA and the 12 steps for my relief for life and when I'm using drugs and alcohol. And the first main one is when I'm using drugs and alcohol for my relief in life, very, very quickly, my problems pile up on me and become astonishingly difficult to solve. That is 100% of the reason why I'm here. If that never happened, why would I ever want to get sober? Right? Like, you know, like, prior to getting sober, you know what my ideal life would look like? If I could have a job, it didn't have to be a crazy killer job, didn't have to be rich or anything, just enough to pay my rent and, you know, gas and stuff. And, you know, go to work, you know, Monday through Friday and have a girl waiting for me at home and, you know, get off of work and smoke a little weed, drink some Modelo's, barbecue and shit, play a little Call of Duty or something and tweak out on Friday and Saturday night and land the plane, sleep it off on Sunday and wake up on Monday, recharged, ready to go with the good attitude at work. That sounds pretty cool to me. I would do it if I could, but I can't. It never plays out like that. And I'm the type of alcoholic, I need a lot more help than just staying sober too. You know, like I wasn't like a lawyer or like a stockbroker or something that drank too much and then I get sober and I'm like, oh, better get to my career on Monday so I could pay the mortgage and hug the wife. I was basically trying to figure out my next 20 bucks to get well. I'd never been self-sufficient. I sucked in all areas of life. So the cool thing about this program is not only do I get relief, like, and my problems don't pile up on me, shit just typically works out. It's the craziest thing. It says in the big book that the discovery of spiritual principles would solve all of our problems. And like, that's pretty good because I got a shitload of problems aside from just getting loaded. And we always hear people say this is a spiritual program, not a religious program. I'm like, all right, that sounds neat. But like, what does that even mean? Like, okay, like, so, like, I don't know what spirituality is when I got here. When people said spirituality, I just pictured some dude like smoking DMT in a van, or like some chick hula hooping around the fire pit, or some chick fucking around with crystals and astrology and like lighting incense in the like. That's what I thought spirituality was. I'm like, all right, how's that gonna help me stay sober? I didn't get it. And what I've come to find is that what we're talking about is the practicing of spiritual principles, right? And so what's a spiritual principle? To me, it's kind of like a law of the universe, right? Like it's like physics, like honesty, for example, right? I can't see it, I can't pick it up, I can't buy it from the store, but it's a concept that I can practice. I know what it is, and I can practice that for better living. So it's the same thing with the rest of these principles: acceptance, tolerance, commitment. If I want to get really advanced, forgiveness. That's a hard one for me, but that's like black belt AA if I want to practice it. And when I learn to do those things, I feel better and my life goes better. And it's my personal theory that all I'm trying to do here is make my reality as good as possible so I don't have to escape it with any type of substance. And the second main difference that I found with the drugs and the alcohol and the 12 steps is, when I'm getting loaded with substances, I get a tolerance to that stuff. I always get it to a point where I can't get that same stimulation that I once did, right? But with this AA stuff, this always hits. I never get a tolerance to this stuff. I haven't gotten burnt out on this stuff yet. Like, I'll never take a guy through the steps, watch them get on their feet, get their family back, get their kids back, get out of sober living, start working, start helping others, and go, that guy was kind of burnt. That sucked. That was not that fun. That was a bad bag. I'll try again with the next guy. That's never happened to me. Not one time. This shit hits I'll never go speak at a meeting somewhere and leave there and be driving home going, those people don't know a good pitch when they hear one. Bunch of bricks, Like, that's never happened to me. It feels good every time I get to do this stuff. And I'll throw this disclaimer out there in case you hadn't picked up on it yet. Drugs are a very large part of my story. And if you don't like that or it hurts your feelings or whatever, and sorry, dude, like, what do you want me to do? Come make something up, dude? Tell you something that didn't happen? And at least in my big book, they're laced throughout the big book. Everybody loves to quote acceptance is the answer and throw that around all over the place. But like, have you read the rest of that guy's story? Dude, the guy was zipping around on amphetamines and shooting himself up with Michael Jackson medicine, trying to crash out before he could hit the bed, And like, picture this, Bill Wilson with his writhing nerves, he's pacing around, he drags his mattress downstairs in case he flings himself out of the window. You tell that guy, hey, Bill, here, smoke this stuff, dude. It'll take the edge off so you can go to work and make some money, or take these pills, they'll help you sleep. You're telling me that guy's going to go, ugh, drugs, I'm a real alcoholic. Get the fuck out of here with that. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure Bill, give me that right now. Bill and Bob would those guys would be garbage cans if they're in modern day 2025, dude. So I started drinking and using late in terms of AA standards. You hear all the crazy stories around here about I was carpet surfing for crack rocks before I could walk, and that kind of, nothing crazy like that, classic tale. Probably, I'm sure, a lot of the same as a lot of you guys, maybe 14, 15 years old, smoking weed in the field next to the high school, and, stealing liquor out of my buddy's parents' liquor cabinet. And I think the best way I could describe myself before discovering drugs and alcohol is I wasn't really like a dorky kid or anything like that. I kind of tried to fit in and skateboard and stuff, but I was just painfully introverted. I was just stuck in my head all the time. I just couldn't relax. And the best way I like to illustrate it, I don't know if any of you guys ever had this experience and maybe you underestimated an edible, or took a dab or got a little too stoned and had to go to work or tried to hang out with friends, or even worse, tried to go on a date. And you got that poker face on, you're like, all right, I can't let them know how tripped out I am right now. But I gotta contribute to this conversation somehow, so I work up the courage and get into it, say something immediately. I'm like, dumb, that was dumb, I shouldn't have said that shit. I felt like that all the time. I needed a drink badly, and I had no idea. But lo and behold, you take this kind of shy, timid guy, put a little liquor in me, and I turned into the guy that I always wanted to be. You know, it was kind of like I remember the Nutty Professor, that blue shit that he used to drink, dude. That's what it did for me, dude. I'm like this shy little dorky guy. I drink that blue original Four Loko mixture that he made up, and I'm like a combination of James Bond, Dave Chappelle, and Mike Tyson, all wrapped up into one. I can tell jokes. I can box fools up in the parking lot. I can steal bottles, tell jokes. Everybody seems to like me, and I had a fun time with it. You know, alcohol brought me to life for the first time in my life. I was very grateful for it, you know, and I'm always talking shit on the, my worst day sober is better than my best day loaded. I'm like, really? You sure about that? Like, I don't know, man. I think rolling balls hooking up with half-naked girls at a rave is a little better than getting yelled at the sober living for not doing the dishes right. Woo! Oh, my grandpa died this week. Woo! This is way better. Like, I'm a realist about this stuff, right? And but I promise you, if this way of life was not significantly better, I wouldn't be here doing it. So 16 to 20 is what I would consider the party years. I would drink every day. I do a lot of cocaine. I'm eating ecstasy like Flintstones vitamins. But I would demonize the harder stuff, right? Because when I'm doing normal high school partying activities, I never seen some dude all slumped over on heroin and then like, oh, that guy looks like he gets good sleep. Like, let me try some of that stuff. And meth tweakers are even worse. Tweakers are like the most unattractive group of human beings on the planet, dude. I never seen some dude all sucked up, noodle grooving, stealing shit, dude, taking apart the microwave, you know, beating off in the street. Ah, Jesus, I'm gonna kill you. Never saw that dude and was like, man, that guy gets all the bitches. I need to do what that guy's doing, dude. I was cool on all that shit. They did a really good job, and so I had all these lines drawn in the sand of things that I would and I wouldn't do, and one by one they all got crossed, man. I remember doing heroin on accident for my first time. I was probably about 18 years old, 17, 18, senior in high school, and I'd been up doing coke all night and just coming down, feeling a little nasty, and my buddy starts smoking this stuff off of tin foil. And I'm like, oh, what's that you got there? And he's like, oh, it's opium. And I'm like, oh, opium, you say? Oh, that doesn't sound too bad. If he had said heroin, I would have been all butthurt. I'm out of here, dude. I don't hang out with the guy anymore. But I'm like, opium, all right, run that. Let's see what's up with that. I don't know, dude. And so I remember taking my first couple little rips of the opium and sitting back and kind of analyzing how I felt. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of nice. Like, weed messes me up more than this stuff. And so what it did was it undemonized it for me. It made it normal for me to do from that point on. I'm like, okay, I don't see what the big deal is about this stuff. And there's a spot in the big book where it says liquor ceased to be a luxury, it became a necessity. And I can remember when that happened for me. I was about 24 years old. And up to this point, I always loved drugs and alcohol, but they were recreational for me. I could have my little, satchel of goodies on the shelf and go about my day and kind of bust them out as needed. But about this time, I had just moved from Santa Barbara down to Oceanside, so I didn't know anybody. I had no friends to hang out with. And my parents were real young when they had me, so I was raised by my grandma, and she was that was like my person. She was everything a grandma should be. She was my just like ride or die, just unconditional love. And she had just died, and I was going through a nasty breakup where we'd break up, get back together, break up, get back together. And just emotionally, I really got drugged through the ringer, and I'm not one to sit in my shit. If I feel like shit, I'm going to feel better one way or another. But at that point in my life, there was no go to a meeting, call another alcoholic, pray and meditate, do some service work. Like I didn't even know those things existed. My two options were to sit there and feel like a piece of shit, or start to use heroin just to cope with how I was feeling on a daily basis. And that's when it changed from something that was a party to something that was kind of a nightmare. And it was about this time I really started to get an understanding of powerlessness and what that was, because for the longest time, I 100% genuinely believe I could stop this stuff whenever I wanted. But why would I want to stop this stuff? It's my favorite thing in the whole world. And this is when I made my first couple of real attempts at white knuckling it and trying to get sober on my own. Usually this is what my relapses would look like. I'd be So I was pretty good at when the gig was up and I was going to be dope sick more than I was going to be well. I was really good at going and curling up at the pad and sweating it out if I got fired or the plug got locked up or something. So I would do that. And, and I'd get all pumped up. I'd get on the biggest pink cloud and I'm drinking C4 and I'm, watching David Goggins videos and I'm doing push-ups and I'm like, so maybe 2, maybe 3 weeks would go by and now I'm like 140 pounds instead of 130 pounds. So I'm ready to go whoop everybody's ass and get all the chicks. I'm thinking I'm all badass now. And my buddy would hit me up, who I know gets high, and say, hey, you want to go to the beach? And yeah, why not? What am I supposed to just hide out the rest of my life and not have friends? Like, I can go to the beach, right? So I go to the beach and right on cue, there's in the parking lot, he starts smoking a little black off some foil out there and he offers it to me. And the insane thought comes, right? The whiskey and the milk, the italics in the big book. I'm not buying it. Like, why not? Like, it's free. Like, go lay on the beach without smoking some heroin or go lay on the beach after smoking some heroin. Like, I'm no rocket scientist, but the choice is obvious. Like, duh, I'm no idiot. And so I would do that, smoke a little, with that guy in the car and then go lay out on the beach and melt in the sand and it'd be fine. And go, oh, that was kind of a nice little beach day. But it would be better is if I got a 20, just to myself. I don't got to beg this asshole every time I want some more. I can use it at my leisure. And so I'd do that. I'd get just a 20 and I would go back to the pad and not out the computer all night. And I'd come to and I'd get up and I'd go, see, nothing crazy happened. I didn't overdose. I didn't get fired. I cracked the code. I can do just a 20 every day. But it's going to be much cheaper if I buy in bulk. And so I go get another big old bag of heroin. And I was dead ass serious the whole way along. They have those pill containers, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'd be like, this is the Monday bag. This is the Tuesday bag. This is the Wednesday bag. Never once did I ever just stick to the Monday bag. Not once. I'd get about halfway through Monday and go, oh, I'll just do less tomorrow. And then beating on the table, how did this happen again? I did manage to get off of heroin. I just shifted gears and started doing a lot of crystal instead. I found it to be a much more manageable lifestyle. It was a lot cheaper. I wasn't getting super dope sick. I felt like I found this life hack now because I like to dick around and be very unproductive, and so now I felt like, okay, I've got all the dick around hours and the productivity hours because everybody else has to sleep and I don't. And it was about this time that I decided to go back to school. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Like, I'm a continuation high school kid. I've never passed like a 9th, 10th grade English, history, or any of that stuff. So I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I knew I had to knock out my like general ed. So I figure I'll take my like science, math, English, and then just hopefully inspirational strike. And I took a class. It was an English class, and I met this teacher, and she's still to this day one of the coolest ladies I've ever met in my whole life. And she was the first teacher to ever not pick apart my work based off of grammar and punctuation. And she used to encourage me, and she'd tell me, Kyle, just worry about the content, dude. We can fix all that stuff later. If you have something to say, then just say it. And I was twacked out of my mind, so I had a whole lot to say. And I fell in love with writing on amphetamines. It became my favorite thing to do in the whole world because I was one of those philosophical tweakers. There's different kinds of tweakers, There's the type that immediately, the klepto tweakers want to start stealing shit, and then there's the kind of tweakers that get all paranoid and start taking apart the VCR, looking out the blinds. There's the marathon masturbation tweakers, and I was one of those too, I'm not going to lie. Primarily, I was a philosophical tweaker. I craved those like 4 a.m. conversations. Like, I don't care what your deal was, if you're a drinker or this, that, or the other. Weren't those best conversations you've had your whole life, that 4 a.m. in the garage, on the rooftop, around the fire in the backyard when everybody else is passed out and it's just you and the other alcoholic still going hard? I love those. I crave those 4 a.m. philosophical conversations. But the problem was I was some weird-ass tweaker with no friends. Nobody wanted to talk to me or hang out with me. And the pages couldn't run away. The pages had to sit there and listen to every single thing I had to say. So I fell in love with the writing, and this teacher, she would gas me up. We became good friends, and she would tell me how great of a writer I was. And, and at no point did I think, oh, I'm just some weird ass tweaker. I literally thought I was going to be the next, like, Charles Bukowski, Hunter S. Thompson. But no matter what the substance was I was using or what lifestyle it was I was going after, it was always the same boomerang effect that Bill Wilson talked about. It always worked great in the beginning, but then it came back and it cut me to ribbons. With the alcohol and the party stuff in the beginning, I was popular for the first time in my life. I'm getting a ton of girls. Everybody likes me. I've got a huge friendship group, but everybody else graduates and I don't. I'm getting locked up constantly. I become this old, lurky, unwelcome hanger-oner at high school parties. It just became a really lame look. And, when I got on the opiates, I felt like I found this life hack. I was like, oh, I'm immune to life circumstances now. I could be facing homelessness, grandma could die, girlfriend could cheat on me, girlfriend could leave. But as long as I got some of this stuff, the old fierce determination to win comes back every time. Fuck all those things. I'm fine as long as I got some of this stuff. But then I'm getting the tolerance and I'm getting super dope sick all the time and I'm getting fired. I'm running out of stuff to sell. I got to deal with the flakiest, shadiest people all the time. And it just became incredibly unmanageable. And then finally with the crystal at the end, in the beginning, I'm stimulated, I'm writing, I'm being productive, I'm going to be the world's next, best writer of all time. But then I'm just getting weirder and weirder by the minute. And I'm starting to short circuit. And towards the end there, I'm not being productive. I'm not writing at all. All I'm doing is playing video games for hours on end, beating off for like 10 hours at a time, and playing carpet detectives. And it's like crawling around on the carpet, smoking toenails and dog shit, hoping it did something to me. And you guys know what I'm talking about. I would do that. I'd be like, all right, we're going to be productive. We're going to clean the pad. We're going to write our next masterpiece. But we're going to look just in this spot because I know I dropped a sack here like 3 weeks ago. We're going to look just here like 5 minutes. That's all. And then like 6 hours later, I'm crawling down the hallway with the cell phone light out on the carpet, pulling out the bookshelves. And the thing with Crystal, it's got this magical quality where it'll end up underneath some like weird ass bookshelf that you haven't even been, and you always find just enough to validate the search. You never come up fully empty handed, just enough to keep you going. So I was never the type of alcoholic to be like snatching purses off of ladies or going to Home Depot and stealing drills and sawzalls and coming back all shot out. Oh, this shit don't work, man. I'm gonna need some money for this. Like, I wasn't really doing stuff like that. I was just extremely enabled. I was really good at making it look like I had a whole lot going on the outside when I really wasn't doing shit. And I would go from family member's house to family member's house. And I had to burn all my bridges. And I reached a point in my life, I was 28 years old. And if I could have stayed loaded and I could have kept a roof over my head, I would have, for sure. I'd still be sitting there loaded at grandma's house right now, but there's no more grandma's house left to go to, no more dad's house left to go to. I'm about 130 pounds, nothing left to sell, no more fronts from the plug. And my only two options are to go sleep it off in the bushes and be homeless, or go to rehab. And they say your bottom is where you decide to stop digging. For me, it was homelessness. There's a lot of people in AA that are way tougher than I am. Call me pampered, but I ain't gonna do it. I'm not gonna hold the sign on the side of the freeway. I'm not gonna sleep under the bridge or drink the tall cans in the park, dude. I tapped out. I said, all right, I'll go to rehab, dude. I'm done with this shit. And I was looking forward to it, honestly. I go into rehab. I wasn't really trying to be sober. It was just my next move to stop from being homeless. I thought I was going to go to some like Passages Malibu type of place and be riding around on horses and eating sushi, getting massages, dude. And Lindsay Lohan's going to be jerking me off in the broom closet. And it's going to be a fun old time. And the joke was on me because I actually ended up going to this super gnarly like cult work camp called Recovery Ranch, dude, and it looked real good on the website, because I don't know, I'm a one rehab, one sober living guy. I don't know, my family doesn't know shit. When I finally broke it down to my family, I'm like, all right, I'm ready, I need help, I'm fucked up. What does my family do? Go on Google, methamphetamine recovery. They don't know what they're doing, and so go on the website and it looks great. You know, it's a bunch of dudes. They're all dressed up like golfers and testimonials like, oh, my son was a dope fiend. Now he's a golfer. Learn a trade. It's like a guy standing there with a shovel. And I'm like, all right, whatever. It looks cool. Just send me there before I change my mind. And I remember showing up and, and they give you a tour with the family and they're like, yeah, there's the pool, there's the basketball court, this and that. And I'm like, oh, all right, I fuck with this. I'm all right with this. And then as soon as your family's gone, they're like, here's a shovel, you little piece of shit. And you're like, what, dude? Where was that energy before, dude? It was, I don't know if any of you guys remember that movie Heavyweights. Back in the day, they had the fat camp, and it's all fun, and they have like the blob, and they're doing all the cool shit, and then Ben Stiller comes and like Nazifies it, and it's all fucked up. It was like that, but for dope fiends, dude. And there's no AA, no recovery, none of that stuff. And but I was lucky that when I came in here, I had a couple of friends get sober before me, and these were the kind of guys that were way worse off than I was in my mind. You know, my buddy Lucas in particular, he had tried to 12-step me and take me to some meetings, and he sat me down in a Del Taco and told me how great AA was. And this was the type of guy that, like, even when I was getting loaded, I couldn't hang out with him because I'm like, this dude's just too burned. He's too much of a bust, dude. I can't. But he had like a good job and a hot girlfriend and an apartment, and most of all, he was healthy and happy. And he told me like being sober is way better. And I just kind of had that Bill and Ebby experience where I was like, I can tell this guy believes what he's telling me, but I'm just not quite there. But he had planted the seed, so when the time came, I was like, all right, what was that stuff Lucas was talking about? Like, okay, if AA did that for that guy, like, all right, let's see what it's got for me. So I bailed out of the rehab. I went to sober living, a place called New House 3 in Santa Barbara. And when I came in, I wasn't sold on being sober the rest of my life. That was a very large pill I wasn't prepared to swallow. But I came in with the mentality of like, I'll do it for a year, right? But while I'm there for that year, I'm going to do it by the book. I'm going to take every suggestion. I'm going to work every step. Like whatever they tell me to do, I'm just going to do it. Because I didn't want to come to AA and half-ass it and leave stuff out and then go back out and be getting loaded and wonder, does that AA stuff work or not? I wanted to thoroughly investigate. And so when I was new, I think my best quality when I was new was I was observant. I just paid attention. I wasn't really sold on this shit. Seemed a little bit, weird. I thought it was a bunch of goobers that just liked this stuff from day one. But I was observing, and I figured out pretty early on that you hear the same exact shit in every single AA meeting you go to. There's no sage wisdom here, dude. This is not Scientology where one day you put enough dollars in the basket and like, all right, you've paid enough. Come in the back. We will tell you what's really going on here, dude. Like, it doesn't work like they tell you the deal from the gate. And I kept hearing the same story over and over and over again. And the story that I kept hearing was that I was suicidal, I was depressed, I lost my kids, the wife left, I was homeless, I was living on the railroad tracks, and I surrendered. I got a sponsor, I worked the steps, and it was the best decision I ever made. I'm happier than I've ever been before. My life's going better than it's ever gone before. So I'm a fiend for feeling good no matter what it is. So you tell me how great you feel when you do all this AA stuff. I'm like, say less. What do I got to do? Nobody ever had to kick me in my ass to work a program. It's like I said, I hate how I feel when I'm in untreated alcoholism. So I was desperate to get in action. And I got busy here. And I think... it's kind of cool. So my sponsor is going to be the Saturday speaker here tomorrow. And I think what really helped me was because he used to bring a book study in. I don't know. It's my like super elementary understanding that a big part of this group is like a sponsor-sponsee book study kind of thing. And I thought that was really cool because how I met my sponsor, he brings a book study into the sober living that I got sober at, and I just loved his style. I really respected him, and I kind of got the character defect of people pleasing, right? And I think my problem for the longest time was that I wanted to people please the wrong people. I wanted to appear like I was some cool, tough guy, I got money or drugs or whatever, but these are the same people that are pinching my sack or waiting to try to bang my chick the second I'm not around. And so now and I still have that, but I just try to people please the right people, right? And that's my sponsor, dude. He is one of my AA heroes still to this day. And I just always wanted to bring him back good news. You know how cats bring back like mice to the door and shit as like a present? Like, that was me. I always wanted to bring him back good news. Hey, I finished that column on that 4-step. Like, oh, I got to lead a meeting. I got another sponsee. I got to go speak somewhere. I just always wanted to continue to bring him back good news. And I'm still like that to this day. I still can't wait to call him up. Hey, mate, he's an English guy. You'll see. Hey, mate, I got to do this and that. And so that helped a lot. And I when I got to Newhouse and I got into AA, I learned to take what I like to call the dumb guy approach. Right? I'm a big fan of the dumb guy approach, and because like I said, I was a pipe twisting philosopher. Just put me in charge. I could solve all the problems of the world. I could squash all the things. I knew what was up with everything. So I just needed to put my opinion on the shelf and just dumb myself down a little bit. And like you guys, the sponsor, know what I'm talking about when the smart guy comes to AA and the dumb guy comes to AA. What's the smart guy do? Overanalyzes it, questions it, picks it apart, has to know how it works, why it works on a scientific level before they're willing to do any of it, and they're a miserable prick until they bounce right out of the program and go get drunk again. Whereas the dumb guy, what's the dumb guy do? The dumb guy doesn't have a second thought about any of this stuff. You just tell him you have to pray every day on your knees, and they go, okay, boss. All right, come to these meetings with me. Okay. Write this stuff out, read this stuff. Okay. Go pay back that money you owe. Okay. They don't think about the program. They just do it. When you don't think about this program, you just do it. There's an effect produced. My life goes better. I feel great. And at that point, I don't care how it works, right? When I was out there snorting up big old gaggers of crystal, I didn't need to know the science behind it. I didn't give a shit, dude. Before I snort up this battery acid and raid, how is this going to affect the serotonin levels in my brain? I don't give a fuck. I'm like, oh yeah, let me just bang that up my nose real quick. But then I'm going to come to AA and I'm like, pray on my knees. Why? What is that? Write out my resentments. I don't have any resentments. You ever notice those guys that take that stance, dude? They're the most miserable pricks ever. And so I just learned to dumb myself down, take the dumb guy approach, man. And I really learned what the whole one day at a time thing was about, because I kept hearing people say that, one day at a time, and I just thought that meant white knuckling it, like I just pictured some guy just kind of grabbing onto their seat and they're just like, all right, you can stay sober just for today, right? And I just pictured some guy just like, I guess so, I'll get through it today. But what about tomorrow and the next day? If I got to live the rest of my life like that, I might as well just pick up right now and try to figure it out. That's not going to work for me. But I learned that I had it wrong. It's not that. It's not white knuckling it. It's a mentality. It's at the end of the day when my head hits the pillow, did I do everything that I needed to do that day to get to where I need to be? If I can honestly answer yes, then I aced it. 10 out of 10. I can have peace of mind right then. And that's the cool thing about AA and spirituality is, I don't have to wait until I'm out of sober living. I don't have to wait until I sponsor 1 million guys. I don't got to wait until I got a girlfriend. As soon as I get into action and I start stacking the wins every day that I need to, I can feel good right then. And it's not, am I spiritual? Am I not spiritual? Do I have it? Do I not have it? It's, am I on the path or am I not on the path? And I'm one of the lucky guys that got on the path and just never got off. And and that first year was it was fun for me, and I can remember when I actually started enjoying myself in recovery, right? Because like most people, I don't know about you guys, when I came in, I felt like everybody else that was in AA and they were all happy and they were all liking it, they were just like that. Like they just came to AA and like, wow, where's this been my whole life? Like I didn't realize most of us come in here and we're like, okay, I kind of got to trudge through this early recovery shit. But I can remember when I really started to enjoy myself in recovery and in life. And I think I had probably somewhere between 6 and 9 months sober. And I was at the sober living and I was in my room like a good newcomer complaining to my roommate about some meeting we went to. Oh, that meeting sucks. I'm not going back. Fuck them people. And he said something that I'd never heard before. He was all, well, why don't you look at what you can bring to it, not what you can get from it? And I thought he made that up. I was like, oh, wow, dude, that was like very profound to me. I had no idea that was some very common like AA wisdom. And I was like, that's a good idea, dude. You know what? So I kind of had this light bulb moment go off where I was like, you know what? I don't care if what I have to say goes completely against the grain of whatever else is going on. I don't care if people like it, don't like it, whatever. I'm going to start to speak my truth here. And I started to do that, and I started to really enjoy myself. And like, yeah, I piss some people off sometimes, whatever, but that's okay. It's still like that to this day. One of my favorite quotes I love to throw around is, to be liked by all is to be loved by none. And I think that's why I was so introverted. I was scared to participate in life. I wanted to be liked by all. I didn't want to piss you off. I didn't want to hurt your feelings. I didn't want to say the right thing. And how I look at AA these days, it's like a potluck, man. Everybody's bringing their dish here. Everybody's got their own flavor, their own thing. And, you know, one guy could be the super dank spiritual tri-tip that's delicious. And all the guys are grubbing what you have and everybody loves it. And you could be the best spiritual tri-tip in the world, but there's going to be some vegan at the potluck, dude, that's not feeling it. On the other side of it, somebody could be the most musty, nasty jailhouse coleslaw in the world, which I don't want none of it, but there's some weirdo in the corner eating it up. Oh, yeah, I love that shit. So I think the only thing that's worse, the only bad thing that we can do here is not bring our dish at all, you know, and I really learned to just embrace who I was around here, and I started to enjoy not just AA, but I started to enjoy life. And that first year, it was cool. It was a lot of fun. After I got through my steps, the obsessions removed, and I started to accomplish these things that I'd never accomplished before. I became self-sufficient for the first time in my life at almost 30 years old, and I took a lot of pride living at the sober living. I love living at the sober living. What was soul crushing for me was being almost 30 years old, living at my grandma's house, and, you know, some chick would be like, oh, where do you stay? Where do you live? Like, what do you do? And I had to go, oh, I'm at my grandma's house, you know, she's getting old, you know, I got to help her take out the trash and, you know, like I'm doing her a solid. I got to spin it like I'm doing her a solid over there. But I know damn well that the only thing I'm helping her do is die sooner. That's all that I'm doing. And it killed me, you know, so I used to love that. Yeah, I live at New House 3, and I pay my own rent there. Still to this day, that's the best money I've ever spent in my whole life. It was spent, you know, my rent at sober living. And about 9 months sober, I got a car, and it was a huge deal for me because having a car and a driver's license was way above my level of functioning capacity for the longest time. And you know, like I didn't even have a cell phone for 2 years before I got sober. I couldn't even keep a free Obama phone. I was rolling around on a skateboard, popping into the Apple store, logging into Facebook, trying to set up middleman deals over Facebook Messenger. That's kind of how I was rolling it. So I got a car, and that was fun, man. And then I got out of sober living at about 14, 15 months sober and got my own room. I can beat off whenever I want now. The promises are coming true, and I like it's all dudes here. I can say whatever I want here. Like, you sober living guys know what I'm talking about too, dude. Remember that, dude? You're hearing them doing room checks and you're just sitting there or call your roommate up. Hey, where you at, dude? When are you going to be home? And they're like, well, why, dude? And you're like, oh, I just was thinking about you, man. That's all, dude. Oh, an hour? Back in an hour? Perfect. See, all right, I'll see you later. You know, and then I get in my first sober relationship about 14, 15 months sober, and it felt like some crazy, like, high schoolish type of experience because I've never experienced this stuff sober before, and it's all real sparkly and shiny and fun and new, but what ended up happening for me is after a while, it loses its sparkle, it loses its shine. It's like, all right, Kyle's got his shit together, now what? Where do we go from here? And if I'm going to stay sober, especially if I'm going to stay in AA, this has to stimulate me. I have to be passionate about it. This has to be fun for me. And what's kept this thing fun for me ever since that first year has been working with others. It's the funnest thing that I get to do in this whole world, in or out of the program. Lay out the kit of spiritual tools, take a step back, and just watch what these guys do with their life and their recovery. I get to relive that first year over and over and over again. It's the funnest thing I get to do in the whole world. And in terms of, you know, But it's like now what I've gotten out of this program, I came in because I wanted stuff like an apartment, a car, a job, maybe a girlfriend if I was super lucky. You know, those were the type of promises I was after. And what I've come to find is, you know, the most important things I've gotten out of this program are the intangibles. Because I can have all the shit, dude. I've had all the things that you can have in sobriety. I can have the, you know, pad on the beach, the good job, the girlfriend at home, money in the bank. And if I'm not putting AA first, I'm not carrying the message, I'm not working with other men, I'm not being of service, all that stuff means nothing to me. I'll throw it all away for a bag or a bottle like that, no problem. However, I can also be sleeping on a bunk bed in a room full of a bunch of dudes at the sober living, stoked on life, genuinely excited to get out of bed in the morning and see what my higher power has for me that day. And so the two most important things that I've gotten out of this program is a feeling of value and a life of purpose. And with the feeling of value, I know for me, when I came to this program and I got sober, I felt like it was too late. Like, I've got felonies all over my record. I don't even have a GED. I've got no type of job history. Like, I've burnt my life up beyond repair, dude. I can't do anything. But then I come in here and I start doing the work and I realize, like, oh, what I thought's my biggest liability is actually my biggest asset. Because I fucked my life up to that degree, I now have testimony to stand on. I'm now able to use that experience to help other people. I love that. You know, say you had some alcoholic that was rich and could go anywhere in the world. You could go to world famous Dr. Young, and the best thing that Dr. Young could do is go, I don't know, hire a bodyguard, lock yourself up. I ain't got shit for you. But that same dude could come to any one of us and for free we can be like, I can help you. I can help you where even Dr. Young can't. It made me feel valuable. Like, everything that I did in my life was worth it. I love that you can't learn this stuff out of a book. And the most important thing I've gotten out of this program is a life of purpose. My sobriety, my recovery, it has to have a purpose, right? Because there's gonna be a lot of days that I got to remember why I'm doing this stuff. If I read the promises out of the big book, there's a lot of really cool stuff in there. But being happy every day, never experiencing loss, having everything go my way, that's all not that's not in there, right? I'm gonna have some hard days in my sobriety. There's gonna be plenty of days it would be easier in that moment to pick up. So I got to really remember why I'm doing this for. So how I like to illustrate this life of purpose, you know, so typically what happens when an alcoholic gets sober? Parents aren't getting the phone call home, your child's died of a fentanyl overdose. People are staying out of jail. People are staying out of prison. Families are reunited. Promises are kept. You have experiences like this, right? So if I come into this program and I do a proper third step, I say, you know what, I'm just going to put all my eggs in one basket. I'm just going to do this AA stuff to the best of my ability, get my life in order, and then try to help as many other men as possible. And at the end of the day, I help 10 guys get sober. And then each one of those guys helps 10 guys get sober. Through the ripple effect, we're actually able to make a difference in our corner of the world. And to me, that's the most important thing I have in this whole world. So when it comes to my fears, my biggest fears, it's not public speaking, it's not death, it's not relapse or any of that. My biggest fear is regret. I live that life of tomorrows. After this SAC, I'll go to detox. Next semester, I'll sign up for school. Tomorrow, I'll get the job application in. And my worst fear is being old and smoked out on my way out of this world going, damn, tomorrow never came. I never changed my actions. Of all the things that I could have done with a human life, that's what I did. I chased immediate gratification of the grave. And because of this super simple program that I don't got to figure anything out here. Right, all I got to do is come in here, follow suit, get on board, and start doing what everybody else is doing. When it's my time to go and I can review my life, I can welcome death and know that I lived a worthwhile life and there's no other way that I would have wanted to spend it. So typically that's where I'll wrap it up, but I think I got a little extra time because it's a camp out thing, so we'll give you guys a little bonus nugget that I like to talk about sometimes when I get some extra time. So this might be old news to some of you guys. It's a story that I heard out of a book. It's a very common book. It's called The Four Agreements. I'm sure a lot of you guys have read this, right? But I heard the story and it stuck with me. So there's this guy, and he wants to become enlightened. So what do you do when you want to become enlightened? All right, you go find some monks at a temple and talk to those guys. So he goes and you find some monks at a temple, And he's like, hey, I want to become enlightened. If I meditate for 4 hours a day, how long will it take for me to become enlightened? And the monk thinks about it, and he goes, if you meditate for 4 hours a day, it'll take you 10 years to become enlightened. And the guy's like, 10 years? No, that's way too long, dude. I can't do all that. So he's like, all right, what if I meditate for 8 hours a day? And the monk thinks about it, and the monk's like, if you meditate for 8 hours a day, it's going to take you 20 years to become enlightened. And the guy's like, what? The monk's like, relax, bro. Like, the point of life is to enjoy your life. Enjoy the journey, dude. Don't rush off into nowhere. Enjoy the moment. And it really reminds me of an experience I had with my grant sponsor a few years ago. I think it was like one of my first times speaking. I was speaking down in Ventura, and he just, for whatever reason, he happened to be there. And I was feeling myself. I did good for that night. And so he called me the next day just to kind of give me that grand sponsorly little pat on the back and tell me, give me an attaboy. And to me, he's like a legend. He's one of my AA heroes that I'm still just running around trying to show off for and make proud. And so I launched into this big speech about, Matt, he's like, I want to have all these years like you. I want to have a legacy like you. I want to help all these guys. I want to be like you. And he stopped me, and he's like, yeah, but Kyle, what about today? And I was like, what? He's like, Kyle, fuck my years, dude. Just have a good day today. Enjoy the journey. And so the message that I want to leave with you guys here is just, hey, have a good night. Have a good retreat, right? It's really cool. This is the first ever annual event here that you guys are going to be having, right? You're never going to be here this weekend again, right? If you got 10 years, hopefully this is the only time you have 10 years. If you got 10 days, hopefully this is the only 10 days you have. So, like, why not make it a good 10 days? So, yeah, just don't forget, have a good night tonight. Go shoot some shit, play some poker, and just go kick some ass. So, thanks, guys.